Hello there. I wasn't sure whether to read out Lucy Letby's statement, but I think I will. It's a statement that was read out in a meeting of various consultants and one of their representatives, an anaesthetist, I think it's an anaesthetist representing the BMA, British Medical Association. A real piece of work he is. And I think there's some management there. There's some people from the management there. But I'll read it out, what Lucy says, which is an extraordinarily powerful statement, I think. And somebody that's obviously very mature. She's 25 at this point, but she's so much more mature. Well, she's incalculably more mature than all those doctors and consultants put together, with the way they act and the way they speak. They're like spoilt, narcissistic children, all the doctors that have been involved in this scapegoating, and horrible creatures, actually. But this is an adult speaking. An adult has entered the conversation, and it's Lucy Letby, somebody with great sensitivity, empathy, somebody who feels themselves highly responsible for the work they're doing, rather than the consultants who couldn't be bothered to do more than 2 ward rounds a week. And one of their number, Jayaram, was more interested in being a television star. So I'll read it out. It's a painful read, as other people have said, because you know what, at this point, end of January 2017, Lucy Letby's grievance has been upheld, but they're going to make arrangements for her to come back. This is this process, and obviously there's going to be these apology letters that people like Dr. Holt are devastated by having to make, and the other ones are narcissistically wounded by it to such a degree that then they get the police involved. But it's a difficult read, actually, because this is being written at a time where she doesn't know the horror that's about to befall her due to these scumbags. The scumbag doctors. That's what I'm calling them. That's what they are. That is what they are. My life, this is Lucy Letby writing this statement. My life was turned upside down and subsequently put on hold when I was unexpectedly informed in July 2016 that I was being redeployed from the unit following a period of annual leave. I'm going to interject in certain points. That was something I thought on Twitter I'd got wrong when I said she was on annual leave, when they kind of sprung it on her that she wasn't coming back to the unit. But that is the case, and they actually did the same the next time in 2017. They did it the next year as well. They wait till she was on holiday again before they told her that she wasn't going to come back then either, and they got the police involved. So they kept on doing it. You'll see this strain of cowardice from these doctors and also the management as well, and the way they behave, and they get her to keep a secret about what they're doing. The cowardice that runs through these people in the NHS, the way they've turned on her like this, with no justification. But they want to keep it all in-house and secret about what they've been doing. They're a bunch of filthy, rotten cowards and bullies. So yeah, she was on holiday, not knowing that, and then she hears, before she's just about to come back, that you're not coming back, you're being redeployed. I mean, she will have known by that point, the whispering campaign, of course, so it won't be a total surprise to her, but nonetheless, what a cowardly way to do it. She goes on to say, I have not entered the unit since. So this is being read out at the meeting on 27th of January 2017, sorry. Yeah. It's being read out then, in 2017, but she's relating it back to what happened at the beginning of July 2016. There has been a huge element of dishonesty, she says, throughout this process. Absolutely, Lucy. Total dishonesty and cowardice and vileness, weakness, just total lack of responsibility and accountability by all these arseholes that consider themselves better than her. They look down on you. Wait till you get some of the responses that were said at that meeting, which I'll tell you about, which you may have heard anyway, of course. There's been a huge element of dishonesty throughout this process, and I want to ensure that you all hear my perspective and are aware of the impact your actions have had on me. Sounds highly intelligent, not that I ever doubted it, obviously, I never thought she wouldn't have been. Highly intelligent, very, very clear, morally, emotionally clear person. As opposed to, you listen to the way some of those doctors are talking at the Thirlwall Inquiry, all this vague, woolly language. Spoilt brats, spoilt narcissistic children they are. Childish people, I should say, not actual children, childish people. I appreciate, Lucy goes on to say, that we all have a right to raise concerns, and that the protection of our vulnerable patient group is, of course, of paramount importance. However, I find it extremely unprofessional and hurtful to have been made aware of such unsubstantiated, insensitive comments as listed below, often via, quote, word of mouth, close quote. Some of these were voiced in public areas and meetings. It was only through the submission of my grievance that all these comments were confirmed. She knew about it. She wanted to get the official confirmation that it was going on. These vile statements that were being made about her, whispered about her, as she says here, in public areas and meetings, by Jayaram, by Breary, by Holtz, by Gibbs, by all of them, no doubt. And she goes on in a minute to tell you what they were. And she nails it here. Unprofessional. That's what all these consultants are. Utterly, as well as being vile people. Cowardly, vile, bullying people. And the junior doctors. The junior doctors that joined in calling her these names. Utterly unprofessional. Obviously uncaring about the babies. You know, they haven't got a millionth of a percent the care for those babies that Lucy Letby had. There's a clue there. That's why they turned on her. That's why they turned on her. They're not fit to lace her boots. They're not fit to do it. They're not fit to be in the same room as her. And yet she's coming back here with the honour and the grace and the strength of character to speak her mind and say, well, I've been pushed out, I've been bullied out, I've got a right to be back here, because she cares about the babies and she cares about, in her mind, as an idealist. She's an idealist, obviously. She cares about the hospital as a whole and the fact she's trained there. I won't preempt it too much. I'll carry on reading. It was suggested by some of the paediatric consultants that the link, in brackets, my presence on the unit and the increased mortality rates, quote, was due to a knowingly deliberate action by LL, Lucy Letby. It has been noted that, quote, consultants were not prepared to have me on the unit, close quote, and that, quote, as a team, you continue to apply pressure to have me removed, close quote. This next bit is dynamite. It all is, of course. Her next quote is this. Lucy Letby's statement. If I were not removed, the police would be called. There's a world in that. And she knows it. And we all know it now. And some of us have suspected it and known it, kind of known it really, for a long, long time now, since way back in the trial. If I were not removed, the police would be called. That's the fulcrum, that's the tipping point, i.e., she goes away, it all goes away. There are no murders, in quotes. There are no attempted murders, in quotes. Nothing happens. No police are called. She goes away. The bullies have got their way. They've forced her out. They've exorcised their vileness and their aggression and their narcissism. And they've got off on it and enjoyed it. And they've ruined her and pushed her out. And they've got their victim on their ropes and pushed her out and destroyed her. And that's what they wanted, the removal. The removal, that's it. That would have been enough. That's what they're aiming for, and that's what they achieved. But she fought back, and she was coming back. And that's the only reason the police are called. If I were not removed, the police would be called. I.e., if I am removed, or I leave, I realise this is, you're dangerous, I'm getting away from you, the police are never called. The police will never be called. Next bit of quote she says here, consultants were uncomfortable that I would be on the unit, because that's the word they keep using. They used it to Karen Rees in a meeting. Breary goes to the meeting. That's what obviously Lucy Letby has had all the information as part of the grievance about those meetings, and she knows that Breary's gone there and say we're not comfortable with her. And Karen Rees has gone, well, I can't move one of my nurses because you're not comfortable. You've got to tell me what they're doing wrong. Consultants were uncomfortable because they're spoilt, narcissistic brats, totally unprofessional bastards is what they are. What's wrong with the kind of people that have been trained as doctors and consultants? I'm not saying all, of course, but this lot, yes, all of this lot. There was one trainee GP, I keep going off the subject, there was one trainee GP, I'm just going to look at my notes here to get her name. She was somebody that's just recently spoken at Thirlwall or left or gave a statement. Oh yes, her name was Dr. Giraskova. She's a GP trainee, obviously doing part of her training at the hospital. And she's given a statement recently to the Thirlwall Inquiry saying she had great doubts that Lucy Letby was guilty. Good on her for doing that. That's something. We should have perhaps said something at the time, maybe, or in the intervening period. I don't know if she could have done, but she said something now. And that's something. That is something. And then obviously Catherine de Berger as well. I think I'll do a video about her and her interactions with Lucy Letby and her Thirlwall testimony given. She's the occupational health person that tried to help Lucy, again, an honourable and good person, it would seem, absolutely, in comparison to this group of jackals, this group of hyenas calling themselves consultants and junior doctors. If I were not removed, the police would be called. Consultants were uncomfortable that I would be on the unit and wanted me suspended. Yeah, because that's how it works, you see. If these posh, mostly posh twats don't get what they want, and they're looking down on the nurses, she's got to go. Yes, because we're uncomfortable. They wanted her suspended. That's what they wanted their way, didn't they? No justice in it, no truth in it, no validity in it, but they wanted their way. And they got it. And they destroyed her completely. But it's going to be turned around. It's going to be turned around after all the damage they've done. Both to Lucy Letby and her family and friends, and obviously to the parents as well. And, of course, to all the babies that, had they been somewhere safe and not chaotic and not being run in a way that made it highly likely that babies were going to die, then if they would have been somewhere else, then those babies would have likely been alive today and been children now. And those parents wouldn't have lost their children, or they wouldn't have been damaged in certain ways by the what they keep calling suboptimal treatment, suboptimal care. Back to Lucy Letby's statement. Members of your team have been heard to publicly make comments such as, this is disgusting, quote, angel of death, murderer on the units, cold and calculated. That's what they were doing. Like a group of schoolyard scumbag bullies all working together, all getting off on it. So they're saying those things. And they're not calling the police, or they're not going, and they're not talking to the coroner either, and they're keeping it to themselves. And Jayaram's keeping something he said he's witnessed for 13 months to himself, while they're enjoying the gossip. Sadists, that's the word I'm thinking of. bunch of sadists. A member of the consultant team, Lucy Letby says in a statement, when asked how they would feel if I were to kill myself, or if something were to happen to my elderly parents as a result, has been documented as replying, I do not care. That's the kind of people we're dealing with here. Psychopaths, some of these doctors, aren't they? These consultants. I don't care. What kind of person's that? What kind of person, what kind of people are they? Are they? No individual, and certainly no parent, should have to hear something as distressing as this. As concluded by my grievance report, which states, it is clearly, quote, it is clearly evident from the witness statements that your movement from the unit was orchestrated by consultants with no hard evidence to support this action. Well, it was orchestrated by them, but you can't let the management off because it was the management that capitulated and agreed to it. Why did they do that? With no hard evidence, no soft evidence, no medium soft evidence, no evidence at all. Yes, it was the consultants that orchestrated it, but it was the management that agreed to it. Why did they do that? So they're complicit, they become complicit as well. They weaken and they become complicit and effectively part of the gang. Why do they move her out without any evidence? They shouldn't have done that in July 2016. Goes on to say, I was also disappointed to have discovered within my grievance that analysis tables relating to the mortality rates had columns, quote, amended by your team with information relating to the involvement of medical staff being removed. That's, I think, goes back to either Karen Rees or Alison Kelly being shown a prototype table of rota who's on duty when, initially with all the doctors on it, and then when Breary comes up with a new improved version of it that he thought about, Breary, there are no doctors on it. Funny that. Yeah, funny that, Breary, yeah, funny that. There are no doctors on it then. Yeah, because, well, there wouldn't be, would there? Because it couldn't be one of us, could it? Not that there is well, there's medical negligence going on, but not that there is any deliberate harm going on. But it's the attitude, isn't it? Due to my professionalism, dedication, commitment, work ethic, and all those are obviously true, aren't they? Obviously true. I have exceeded expectations in my new role and remained in work. In other words, she's strong. She's strong. She's stronger than all these people put together, and times that by 1,000. All these weak, bullying bastards, because that's what bullies are. They're weak people. And that's what these people are. Incredibly weak, childish, stupid people that somehow found themselves as doctors. Would you want to have a baby in a hospital with these people there? Would you want to work with them? Would you want them anywhere near you or your children? I wouldn't. In my new role and remained in work, she's talking about the admin role. In other words, she's saying she's stuck with it. She's gone with it. She could have gone off sick. She could have moved somewhere else and would never have then been bothered by the police or anyone, because they'll have got what they wanted, wouldn't they, the bullies? But she's got pride. She's got pride and strength of character and honour, something these other people have got none of. Something Cheshire Police and their hummingbird idiots have got none of. Something the Court of Appeal has got none of. No honour, nothing. Nothing like honour. Wouldn't understand the meaning of the word. As for Evans and the bunch of those other hired arseholes in the court in 2023, same goes for them. No honour. No honour, no truth. So she stayed in her new role and remained in work despite time off being suggested by numerous people on many occasions. In other words, they're trying to push her, trying to say, take some time off, go off sick, you're stressed. Oh, why are you stressed? Because they're trying to destroy you, that's why you're stressed. But the cowardice of that system, the cowardice of that culture, of that NHS culture, that she's a victim of here, then tries to make her weaken, in other words, and go off sick or take time off. That's what it means. It's a euphemism. Maybe forget about nursing altogether. we've allowed the consultants to destroy you, the management are kind of saying, but maybe it's time to get out now because you're embarrassing us, because you're kind of a sore point to us, because we know you've done nothing wrong, but we've moved you out away from your nursing duties to placate these assholes, to placate these bastards. We've done that. Maybe you should just kind of disappear and then we don't have to think about it anymore. Because we know we've behaved like arseholes as well to you by moving you away with no justification, no evidence, as they say. Doesn't matter if it's no hard evidence, no evidence per se, no evidence at all. The reason for remaining in work being that I am completely innocent of all verbal allegations made against me, which has been confirmed with my grievance report. Well, of course it has. Completely innocent. That's why she's not jumping. They want her to jump then. They push her into the, quote, island of lost souls, as Jayara mockingly calls it, the place where bullying victims go within that trust, no doubt. And then they hope she's going to take time off. And what that means is jump, because they pushed her so far. It's constructive dismissal, really, isn't it? It's a staging in a constructive dismissal, and that's why they kept on saying maybe you should take some time off, i.e. maybe you should kind of disappear, really, either from this trust completely or from nursing completely. That's what they wanted to do to her. But she's strong, and she's got strong character and values and honesty and courage to fight back against this. In some ways, time off may have been easier than having to constantly walk past the women and children's building, knowing that I could not enter for fear of seeing any of you or bumping into colleagues and having to lie. See, that's the thing. They told her that she couldn't talk to the colleagues or let them, or I'll go on to read what she says here because it becomes clear. The isolation from friends and colleagues since July has been huge, and I am yet to see if it has any lasting impact on my team relationships. It's called ostracisation, isn't it? Not only did they force her to move out, they were telling her not to speak to her old colleagues and not go back to that unit, and to pretend as though it was her choice to be seconded to that other job. That's the cowardice of that NHS culture in this trust, isn't it? That's what it is. That's what we see, that there as a totality coming in now. So the management aren't protecting her, they're not helping her, they're trying to unperson her and make it out as though it was her choice to leave her nursing position and go into a secondment in an admin job, like it would be, like she'd really want to do that after doing this extra training to be the highest level nurse that was being currently employed there, in terms of doing this extra special training that she'd done at level 3 hospitals. The unit is a small, close-knit team, she says, with some members also being friends. Exactly, it's a interpersonal world, a support network. Having to limit contact with them. I'm getting nervous reading this because I'm fucking furious reading this on her behalf, and as I know other people were when they read this, and they said, it gets you. It's infuriating what they've done. You get a sense of the person coming through here and the strength of her and her character. It's fucking infuriating what they've done. Having to limit contact with them and be under the pretense of a voluntary secondment. She hasn't thought I'll be under that pretense. They've suggested that to her because it makes it easier for them. The management, because they're joining in with the bullies now. They've capitulated to them, but they don't. That's the cowardice at work here. I'll just pretend that you wanted to go to do this admin job, Lucy, because it makes it simple for us. We don't want you telling or meeting your old nurse colleagues and saying I've been bullied out, do we? Because it will cause us more problems to deal with as the management, and we'll have to maybe they'll turn on another nurse, and we've got that headache as well again. So they'll keep on deferring to these bullies and trying to protect them and trying to protect themselves or avoid headaches or avoid their responsibility and accountability, the management, and get her to take all the responsibility on for the unfair, well, I was going to say the unfair punishment, but for the abuse. She's got to take responsibility for explaining the abuse and joining in with the idea that it's a secret why it's happened. Anyway, so she has to limit contact with them and be under the pretense of a voluntary secondment, has resulted in my support network being extremely restricted. Exactly. There would have been all kind of social elements. There would have been her friends there, people she worked with and socialised with. Now she has to, they're stripping her away of all her supports. The secrecy of this situation has been, in my opinion, she writes, to protect you more than it was to benefit me. So who's the you there? It means she's talking about the management, and obviously that, and then includes that those bunch of filthy bastard doctors, But obviously the structure, the management, the people who made that decision to tell her to go, because it wasn't, the consultants didn't ring her up and say, we don't want you back when you're on holiday, we don't want you coming back, we've found a job. Brewery didn't ring her up and say, we found a job for you on the island of Lost Souls in an admin job. Jayaram didn't. It was a manager that did it. It was the management's weakness that did that. And so when she's saying that, it's to protect you more than it was to benefit me. So they're putting all the responsibility on her to protect them and to protect the status quo and to protect the power structure and to protect and wash over or cover over the iniquity of what's happened. So the secrecy of this situation has been, in my opinion, well, and in truth, Lucy, and in truth, to protect you more than it was to benefit me. I have never had anything to hide. I therefore wish to be as open and honest as possible with my colleagues pending my return. And that's what they were really scared of. The management didn't want that either, because they wanted her just to, at the very least, to come back in and not say boo to a goose, and not upset these consultants that had harmed her, and not say to other people why she'd been away, not to spread it to other nurses why she'd been harmed. It's as though she's got to carry the shame of what other people have done. She's got to carry the shame of what these bullies have done. And that's what they would have had her do. And she's saying, no, I've got nothing to hide, never had nothing to hide. I'll go back here, I'll be open and honest about what's happened. I didn't choose to go on a secondment. You pushed me into it because you capitulated to this bunch of thugs. But still she wanted to be the adult in the room, the only adult in the room here. The only adult in the room here she was going to be. She is and was. And tries to say, well, we've got to make this work in an adult way, surrounded by childish, narcissistic brats and weak, cowardly bastards. And she's the only adult in the room at 25 years old. And you've got these men in their 50s and 40s and Gibbs in his 60s. Childish brats, cowards, loathsome, wretched creatures. Does make you angry. I therefore wish to be as honest and open as honest as possible with my colleagues pending my return, and I will be releasing a statement. Oh God, they didn't want that. Oh no. I feel they have the right to know the truth behind my secondment. Damn straight they do. Damn straight they do. But they don't. But management, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants the truth in that. When a toxic environment like that, do you think they want the truth? They can't handle the truth. They can't handle the truth, and nor can the criminal justice system, and nor can the police. They can't handle the truth. And restricted contact, that's what they created. That's what they fabricated for her, or enforced upon her. Restricted contact and the secondment. Psychological torture is what they did. Which is very out of character for me. Exactly. They made her They put her in a false position so that her friends from the unit will think, well, Lucy's being weird, then she's not contacting us anymore. Because of the pressure of the management telling her that's what she's got to do, to say nothing, to keep stum, to say nothing, to protect not Lucy, but to protect the rest of this fake, false system, this cowardly, vile, broken, toxic system. They put that all on her shoulders. 25-year-old, put her on her shoulders, rather than take anything themselves. These loathsome creatures. I hope this will also enable relationships to be rebuilt and for me to be supported in my return to the team. Can you hear the maturity there? It's at a super level of maturity and strength. After working with you all in a professional and supportive manner during difficult and challenging times, I have been hurt and disappointed that those of you who did not openly raise concerns felt unable to be more supportive of me in this situation. She's saying, well, yeah, the people, even though you weren't part of that gang, you still didn't support me, did you? Well, I didn't hear you, I didn't see you. Where were you? Where were you? Where were you when I needed you? But the culture is such that the culture is so poisonous that they're thinking, well, no, we're not going to go near the person who's been deemed a witch. We're not going to go near the person who's been scapegoated. No, we don't touch the scapegoat. We don't think, hear, see, consider the scapegoat anymore. And that's why they distanced. And that's the cowardice as well. That's the cowardice as well. Obviously, that didn't apply to Karen Rees, who was meeting Lucy Letby. Much to Dr. Jayaram's chagrin. Karen Rees was meeting Lucy Letby socially and comforting her and giving her support, as was Catherine de Berger, or de Beger, I don't know how you pronounce it, de Beger, B-E-G-E-R. But she's obviously saying here, Lucy Letby, even though there were some people that weren't part of the gang, whether it's of 4 or 7 or 9 or however so many, she could have Lucy could have stood to hear a bit more support from her friends. Disappointed that they weren't more supportive of me in the situation, that they just went quiet because they didn't want to draw fire themselves. That shows you how poisonous it is and how weak they are as well. That they didn't give her any support that she needed. The detrimental effect this has had on me, my family, and potentially my future is immense, she says. Many months of worry, distress, secrecy, imposed secrecy, isn't it? It's been imposed upon her, not chosen by her, imposed upon her by a bankrupt, weak system of management. And uncertainty has had a significant... because if she hadn't brought the grievance, the management aren't going to kind of do it themselves, are they? They aren't going to think, oh, maybe she was bullied there. We need to get to the bottom of it. It had to be her that brought it. They were going to do fuck all, the management. They would have let her be... She's just a victim of these people, and we've just gone with it. We've just been weak and just gone with it and capitulated. We're not going to do anything about it. We're not going to open up that can of worms. We put the responsibility onto her to do it. She's got to bring the grievance, rather than the management saying proactively, what the fuck are you doing, you bunch of arseholes, these consultants? What are you doing? We're not just going to warn you about reporting you to the GMC. We are reporting you all to the GMC. You scumbags. This is very painful, this bit. The many months of worry, and it has had a significant impact on my physical health, general well-being and self-confidence, and still she stayed, and still she had the strength to stay and to write this and to deliver it and to see her grievance through. I am not the person I was before this began. No, she's gone from, I'm not saying she's innocent before, but she's gone into a level of experience that most people never get to realise how wicked, frankly wicked other people can be, and how they can work as a group with certain spearhead characters, I would suggest, Breary and Jayaram, but certainly the weakness and the cowardice of the other ones all joining in this bullying campaign. She's realised how wicked other people can be, and before that she trusted and valued her colleagues and didn't think they could do this, but they did it, and they did much, much worse to come, much worse to come. I'm not the person I was before this began. How could you be? How could you be? It is, and this is before the police have even got involved. It is only now that there is some light at the end of the tunnel. God bless her. That's what she's thinking here, and the police haven't even seen Evans yet. Although I think Evans has already been teed up by the consultants by this point, or very soon after, if not before. Anyway, that's another story. It is only now that there's some light at the end of the tunnel that I feel as though I can start to try and become the person I was before. See, the courage again keeps coming, washing back in. Possibly someone who was a bit older would have said, I know I can, because of experiences of life, I know I'm in a very dangerous situation here. These people have no morals. These doctors have no moral compass whatsoever. And the management has, in the end, yeah, they appear to try to protect me initially, but only so far. And then all their morals go out the window because they don't really have them. They don't have the scope, don't have the moral compass or the scope or the depth. Don't have it. None of it has it. The culture of it is lacking completely in morality. Completely. A lot of people, she says here, would leave, move on, have a fresh start. And that's the things I've been saying in videos for over a year now, that had she done that, yes, it would have saved her. But she was strong and she was idealistic. And she's casting her pearls before swine here. And as it says in the Bible, I think the quote is, "Do not cast your pearls before swine, lest they turn again and rend you, rip you to pieces." And that's exactly what they do. The swine turn again and rend her. And that's when they bring in the police and the psychopath Evans and the sick, dumb, utterly corrupt British justice system with the wigs and the gowns and the bullshit and the lies and the corruption and the sickness of them. And the haughtiness fucks me off. I really... She cast her pearls before swine, and they turned again and they rended her. And that's the warning of that. I'm not blaming her. She is an idealist, person of great moral strength and character. And no doubt her parents were like that as well, are like that. And her family and their friendship group are like that. So she doesn't imagine that other people are not like that, but they are as far away from what she is, personality-wise and character-wise, as you can possibly imagine. In the other video I did recently, think of the nastiness, the vileness of somebody like Holt, Dr. Holt, but Breary and Jair are much, much worse even, of course. But their pettiness, the slyness of them, the sneakiness, the hypocrisy of this bunch of hyenas. So a lot of people would leave, move on, have a fresh start. And I know this is the feeling which has been conveyed to me by some of you. Quote, "The longer she's away from the unit, the more likely she'll be able to leave." I.e., yes, exactly, that's what she knew. She knew what their game plan was, the management. Put her out somewhere where knows she's kind of being edged. Well, she's obviously been edged out of nursing completely at this point. up to this point. But she wants to come back. She said, well, I've done nothing wrong. I've not been incompetent. Obviously, I've not done anything deliberately wrong. And I've done nothing wrong in terms of incompetence. I've not done anything wrong at all. But I know what you want me to do. You want me to... You think you've destroyed me. No, you fucking haven't. I'm coming back. Why shouldn't I? Why should I not? Why should I take this injustice from you? You want me to jump. You want me to leave. You want me to go off sick. You want me to give up nursing. You want me to take a nursing job maybe in Cornwall or in Scotland or abroad. Anything so you don't have to take responsibility, Countess of Chester. Foundation Trust. Anything so you don't have to take responsibility for allowing a rogue gang of vicious bullying consultants to just rule the roost and pick on anybody they want because of their own failings and because of Chester Hospital Trust's own failings in and of themselves in running a dangerous and chaotic and unsafe unit. And not having sufficient staff cover and not having... Well, but all the other things we've talked about many times. The danger of it, the negligence, the criminal level of negligence, which is what all these cases are going to become. They're going to become. I'm trying to think of the word. I'm running out of words. Corporate manslaughter, medical negligence, corporate negligence. All these cases that were finessed and fabricated into murders and attempted murders by a bunch of nutters and people just wanting money, Evans will say anything for money, and power. They're all going to become medical negligence cases, all of them. And they knew that. And there's other stuff being revealed now. The case of Child D has come out most saliently recently in relation to that. But I don't want to go off track here. I'll do that in future videos, perhaps. So much other things coming out. But she's saying here, the longer way, that's what is being told to her. She's being trying to pressurised to jump, isn't she? To jump. You're an embarrassment to us now because we know that you've been abused and we've allowed it to happen and we've supported the abuse of you. Now it'd be kind of convenient for you, Lucy Letby, if you just kind of went, We're giving you a bit of a message here by taking you off the unit, even though you've done nothing wrong. You should kind of just go now and get out of our hair. We know there's nothing, you're a brilliant nurse, but we don't want to upset these this posh bunch of twats called the consultants and the doctors. We don't want to upset them, do we? So we'll sacrifice you very easily. We'll sacrifice you. So that's what's behind all that. But, however, Lucy Letby says, in this statement, I'm very passionate about and dedicated to Chester. It is where I undertook my nurse training. And this is someone who she always wanted to be a nurse since she was a little girl. I'm very passionate about and dedicated to Chester. It's where I undertook my nurse training, and the unit helped me to grow from a student to a newly qualified nurse and beyond. With the extra training she did. That she was relied on more than any other nurse there. They would ring her up when she's in a salsa class to ask her what needs to be done. That's how much they were relying on her. And that's how much they turned on her. The swine turned on her and rended her. Although this has been very traumatic, my strong desire to remain in Chester and with Countess of Chester Hospital remains. Bless her heart. Bless her decency. She didn't know she was in a place that was absolutely evil in terms of the structure there, in terms of the structure of it. And with evil people and surrounded by, I don't know, you can call them demons or you can call them psychopaths or narcissists, whatever you want to call them, wicked people, weak, cowardly bullies, whatever. She didn't really know the full extent where she was. Otherwise she would have run and got away. She didn't know really what they were and what they're capable of. And then they showed her what they were capable of. And then they showed the world what they were capable of. But now it's all being exposed, what they've done, for everybody to see. And it's going to carry on in that vein. My strong desire to remain in Chester and the Countess of Chester Hospital remains, and I am hopeful, she says, that we can find a professional way forward to enable my return to where I feel I belong. And that's how this section ends. I don't know if there was any more in the statement, and this is just a part of it. This is from Thirlwall, have published this. The Inquiry's published this, or allowed this to be published. See how it ends there on that highly mature, highly sensitive adult way, which puts to shame pretty much every other character that's created this vile situation. How weak it shows them to be. This kind of person, this kind of level of decency and her character, her strength of character, her idealism, her will, her courage to protect what she knows is right and get back to help those babies that are coming, because she kind of knows as well that without her it's going to be even worse for those babies as well. There's that in the mix as well, I think. But she stood up against the injustice and she triumphed against it. But you can triumph against injustice in truth, but if you're surrounded by and you're in a morass of wickedness and evil and weakness and corruption and bullying, that world around you doesn't care whether you're right, doesn't care whether you're just, doesn't care about your pearls of humility and justice and rightness and fitness and strength and honesty and courage. In fact, it hates all those qualities. And that's why when Lucy said elsewhere I think to Catherine de Berger in one of the meetings she had, I don't understand why the consultants seem to hate me. They hate her for her qualities. They hate her for her qualities because they lack them themselves. They hate her for what they lack themselves: decency, honesty, truth, an adult way of going about things, courage, willingness to take responsibility, willingness to want to learn, to really make things better, to build bridges, even with people that have tried to harm her, even at that level. But they had none of those qualities that Lucy Letby possesses. None of them. Not Breary, not Dr. B, not Jairam, not Gibbs, not Holt, not Saladi, not the other, I can't remember all the bloody names. Not Dr. A, now conveniently called Dr. U for some weird reason. The coward that wouldn't even go to court under his own name. The coward that turned against Lucy Letby after pretending to be her friend. So I've read that now. That was quite difficult to read. It's very painful, isn't it? And it's heartrending, really. Shocking. That because of what happened afterwards and what's still happening now. To conclude this video, I'm going to read two of the reactions to it from some of these, as I say, childish, narcissistic, loathsome, wretched creatures called the doctors here. The first one being Dr. Sean Tighe, Tighe, Tighe. I don't give a fuck how he pronounces his name. He's an arsehole. Hear what he said about it. He's at that meeting in which this statement was read out. It was read out by Karen Rees. And Dr. Tighe says, who's at this meeting, it says here, among those at the meeting was consultant anaesthetist Dr. Sean Tighe, who was asked to attend as a witness in his role as a union representative for the doctors, part of the BMA, I think. Asked about Letby's statement, one I've just read, he told the Inquiry, i.e. Thirlwall Inquiry, quote, "Well, I thought it was completely inappropriate. We had been told that the meeting was to explore the reports, the contents of the reports, and to explore the possibility of Ms. Letby returning to work, not to hear a 20-minute melodramatic dissertation from Ms. Letby herself." Can you hear the scorn? Can you hear the aloofness? Can you hear the superiority that they think they've got? What a creature. What a creature, Sean Tighe, you piece of shit. Do you hear what he's saying here? That what I just read out, that brilliantly powerful, strong, courageous piece of writing. He calls, he demeans, he insults and calls it a 20-minute melodramatic dissertation. You scumbag, Tighe. Karma's coming for you all. Karma is coming for you all. And the other reaction, which was we heard about later, but not part of the Thirlwall Inquiry, was in some of the interviews that wannabe TV star, creep, wannabe pop star, creepazoid Dr. Jayaram said, is that before we've had sight as the public of that statement, he described the statement that Lucy Letby, that I've just read out, he described it as a very aggressive letter. Does it sound aggressive? Or does it sound the words of somebody who's incredibly strong, with incredibly strong values and character, who still wants to build bridges with people who have harmed and abused her, who's got that much of strength of character and decency, that they're not fit to be in the same room with her? And he called that an aggressive letter, because it was calling them into question, wasn't it? It was shaming them, as they should be shamed. But there is no shame in them. There's no shame in Breary and Jayaram. There's no shame in Dr. Sean Tighe. There's no shame in Dr. Holt. Because their characters aren't formed, they're malformed. They're very dangerous people, as we can see. How do we know that? Because of the fruits of what they've done. The destruction of a person's life, and by extension their family and friends. And the lies that have been told to those parents, and what they've put them through. That's why we know what they are. I think I'll leave it there. Lots of other things going on, of course. A very, very powerful article in The Guardian, which I think I might do a video about, in terms of the door data being relevant to, and stuff to do with the CPS pressurising the police, not to go down certain ways, the corruption in the CPS there. That's naughty, that is. Now, are the police telling the truth about that? Is the CPS telling the truth? Who knows? But there's just a lot of dirt and murkiness between those two agencies there, of course, about it. Stopping lines of inquiry effectively. That's what the charge is in relation to the CPS. What else? I'll just look at my notes here. I'm not going to go over it now. It's coming up to an hour, or 53 minutes. Yeah. That the door data, that it was wrong in terms of the baby K case, but it is now believed. I think it's in The Guardian as well. I've got to go over this stuff because it's very hard to get behind with things. So much coming out. That it has an effect on potentially 8 of the babies on the 8 of the cases, shall we say, that are listed on the indictment. That door data, in terms of it forming false, wrong, deliberately wrong, accidentally, on purpose wrong, door data that the CPS/police supplied is relevant now to 8 cases, not just one, not just baby K, 8 cases. Then, of course, Catherine de Burger's input, which I'll have to read through. Friend Catherine has very kindly sent me a very clear transcript of it on a Word document. That's very helpful. Thank you, Catherine. I mentioned Dr. Juroskova, the GP trainee, who says there was great doubts. Private Eye have done another part. So I think they're up to part 6 now. So there's a part 5 and part 6. Asking a lot more other questions. So CPS. Yeah, the Yeah. Oh yes. Oh yeah. There's this back door. There's the door. I recently asked for an FOI in terms of all the doors, and were they two-way door swipe stuff. Oh, I've only got 5 minutes left. I better hurry up. But there's this back door that leads down to the stairs, and it's got a little icon on the map that the police, I don't know, got it from Countess of Chester Hospital Estates. They got this little map of all the surrounding units, and it's a doorway with a broken lock on it, an icon of a broken lock, and that turns out to be, well, it was just a door. You punch a series of numbers to get in and out, and that meant, potentially other people are coming in and out all the time. So basically the idea of using door data, which they got the wrong way round anyway, for we're looking at least 8 cases now, probably more. They've also got this other door which makes that unit porous all the time, and there's no data on that anyway. So everything's falling apart for this disgusting prosecution's case. It's falling, as it should do, as it must do. Lies will be exposed. Lies and corruptions will be exposed. I think I'll leave it there. There's lots of other stuff. But I'll just kind of do it ongoing, and I don't want to do videos for no purpose. But obviously that statement is such a powerful element here, and gives such a strong sense of Lucy, and it's so tragic in the sense of, you read it then before the real horror ensues, and the real violence and abuse of that group of creatures. That group of creatures really gets going. Then they really get going. And once they've had to apologise and send letters, once they're devastated by having to write an apology for doing wicked things already, and bullying and gossiping about her in public areas, then once they're shamed, these narcissists, that's when they really, really want blood then. And then they get it. But the right thing is going to be done in the end. It absolutely will. Thank you for listening. Thank you.